size of the subsidence.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we talked Thursday night. Once we get a little bit of data in the community, we're going to calculate what's called the drawdown across the whole area, assuming we got the whole area covered, okay, with dual phase wells. We'll know what spacing is. We know how much drawdown. Once we get that, this is based on the 4 systems before we go out in the community. We'll then take that information, we'll give it to Itasca, who does this kind of stuff. They're looking at the roads and everything already. And we're going to be able to quantitatively answer your questions, because I know it's important before we go out throughout the community. The settlement's important, we've got to address it. As Will can tell you, this type of dewatering type subsidence is fairly routine, and that's what we're going to do here before any expansion of the system happens.
All right, so what you're saying is you can do this stuff before they install the shallow gas system.
Right. The first 4 locations we're going in as tests, okay? And we're going to monitor right around those. I know one of them's near your house, and we can work with Texas Brine to establish some additional points around there. Because we'll be dewatering there, and it's really easy to establish points and run what's called a differential level survey to see what kind of subsidence you're getting in that area. So that's a good point. I think as part of the testing, I think that's a very valid point. We probably ought to set up some differential points to be able to answer your question based on real data in addition to calculations. It's a good point.
If you don't take the composite of the soil around the sinkhole, is it identical to what's in our neighborhood?
No, actually, you've got stronger soils over there. The sinkhole, we think the reason the sinkhole is flattening out is because of the marsh mat. It's the swamp debris, you know, the stuff you can't even hardly walk on.
The reason why I'm asking that, if it is similar or close in makeup, you will have huge subsidence across on the other side of the road. Just tell me you can feel.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at the roads.
Shake your jar of mud. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
I think, given the subsidence question, I think putting some subsidence points around the test areas would be a very good thing. And that would be easy for Miller or Fenstermacher to run those surveys. I used to do them when I was in the mining business. It's pretty easy to run a differential survey.
Donnie, you had a question?
Yeah, you gonna put backup generators on everything?
Pardon?
How much electricity
On the permanent system?
Yeah.
That's the backup during hurricanes, the backup during power outages, or something that's got to be discussed. We haven't gotten that far in the design. Some kind of backup power.
You get somebody, also, maybe move back, and something happens, and one day you turn on electric.
Well, I'm telling you now, the shallow system is interim. It's not going to get away from the monitors in your homes. All right? That's something we're going to have to live with until we can get the pressure down in the aquifer. Backup systems for the system, once we get it in the neighborhoods, that is something we're going to have to talk about, and that has to be incorporated in the design. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to tell you to take the monitors out of your homes, because that's a second or third line of defense.
Dr. Yetter.
How much is the RCO fee? In the whole area, you said the whole area plus the side of it?
No, I said the whole area, the groundwater is going to go down. The amount of subsidence, we don't expect it to be very much. Well, we're talking a couple feet of drawdown. But we will calculate that for you, and with what Nick said, we'll monitor it and see what it is. We don't expect it's going to be much, if at any at all.
Well, how much is that? 6 inches or a foot? Good night. How much do you think this is going to sink in the community where we are living?
Okay, not...
You thinking it's going to subside? It's going to go down?
No, I'm saying the water's going to go down. I don't think the grounds...
Elevation of the ground.
The The ground surface, I don't think is gonna settle at all because we're not gonna have that much drawdown in the water. Okay, but just because, based on my experience, it's not gonna go down, what we're doing is we're gonna do the calculations, we're gonna instrument the first systems, so we can answer your question based on site-specific data.
Well, Mr. Nick Romero last year asked y'all for the benchmark at a certain elevation. Was that ever done? So that we could tell from last year to now if it subsided?
There are survey benchmarks that Fence Thermometer runs across that area. I'd have to get a map to tell you exactly where they are.
Brad, that, to my knowledge, there's 4 surveys that were done, and I think it's just geoprobe locations. It's my understanding we should be putting a link on the blog in the next few days of that information. So you can go and look at it. I'm not sure we can get it by tomorrow.
Did it subside any?
You think it subsided any?
I didn't look at the report. All I'm telling you is I know we have it now, and we're gonna put it on the website, and we're gonna post a link to it, and that way everybody can go look at it. But I would lie if I would say anything because I hadn't looked at it yet. I just got it today.
I don't know what that inspection is.
I think it is.
Well, they're parking all y'all and start doing benchmarking this plan. And he talked to me last time they came and he said they have not had any subsidence other than around the center.
And just
Any neighborhood.
to announce it, he said that he spoke to Fence and Mocker, and they said they have no subsidence shown on any of the geoprobes. But nevertheless, I think we're trying to get it posted to a website. As soon as it's posted, we're gonna blog it out with the link for everybody to go look at it themselves.
If the test that you're gonna do on vacuuming the gas out, okay? If that works in the manner you think, and you put in your permanent system, take the gas out and catalytic, okay? How long is it gonna take to get that gas, to keep it out from under there where someone can live in this industrial zone?
We are hoping it's going to be a matter of weeks to maybe a few months, and that's it. We got very good response out of the first test. We'll know much more once we do the 4th test, but we're hoping a full-scale system, you're talking weeks, because we only have to go down about 20 feet to stop it. We don't have to suck it all out of the aquifer. What we can do is just put a negative pressure, a vacuum as it were, in this sand, and it's going to float over the wells. So it's going to have a very fast response.
And then it'll have to stay there until
Yep.
those other wells are out there. So you're not really safe until those other wells take the deep out.
The situation is not resolved until they take the deep out.
And that's
That's going to take several years, okay? However, we can make the community safe by stopping the gas before it gets to the surface.
But if something goes wrong, it's not safe again. It's back to the same level.
Right, but we're going to know if something goes wrong and you can fix it. We're not talking one massive
You can send
system.
us back out, evacuate it again. That's
But these are mechanical systems. They're fairly easy to replace.
I know it very well.
We run them across the country. They're rotary blowers. They have a very good track record. They do have to be shut down for periodic maintenance, but not enough where it would affect your safety.
So how much figure y'all guesstimating the sinkholes will get?
Pardon?
How much bigger do you think the sinkhole will get? Substantially bigger?
I think it's going to keep growing at about the same rate right now. So it will, several years from now, it's probably going to be
Outside the berms?
No, Jeff.
the sinkhole, the subsidence area, the sinkhole's already crossed the berm. But the sinkhole is going to keep growing.
Okay, what about 70? What about Highway 70? I mean, if the sinkhole keeps growing at the rate that it's going right now, in 3 years, I mean, Highway 70. I mean, these people gonna be in, I mean, I'm not a resident of Bayou Corn, I am a resident of Pierpont. But if they in their homes in the back, and 70 goes down right there, now what?
Okay, the type of subsidence we'll see along 70, if it happens, is gonna be gradual. It's not gonna all of a sudden develop its own sinkhole. It's gonna be gradual lowering.
You know
DOTD,
that for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a guy, I mean, y'all didn't think that it was gonna get bigger than this, and now it's like this.
that's why I'm explaining to you how we understand it better.
That's what I'm- So what about, are there any plans for another evacuation route? Is there anything in progress?
Okay, what's in progress right now, first of all, there's a very high resolution monitoring system along Highway 70 right now being operated by DOTD. That is installed and monitored. In addition, the Fenster-Mocker survey is manual measurements along the highway, and DOTD is also taking manual measurements along the highway. Right now, there is a contingency plan for rerouting Highway 70 in the event something goes wrong down the road, okay? And the contingency plan, it was here 6 weeks ago, that the presentation was here. There's a short-term plan which they could build probably in a matter of, days or maybe a week or two to get around the immediate sinkhole, and then the ultimate is diverting Highway 70 completely away from the area. So that contingency plan is on the books right now. We had a public meeting on it 6 weeks ago.
You said that you'd have another plan with a permanent shallow well vents put in. Will you have another meeting with the community to explain where it's going to be?
We are going to be meeting with the community through this whole process, okay? I'm adamant about that we meet with the community. Once we get to a point, we've got additional information to share with you, which is going to be every several weeks, is my guess, until we get this thing moving. So yes.
You feel that, most of us feel that it's kind of doing, putting the cart before the horse, you attacking the gas at the surface, and then down, and then down. You should start at the bottom, to the bench started, but you just found out through Dr. Marlin exactly where we got to go, correct? With the well. Is that in motion now to take that, to draw that gas out of that 1,000 and 1,500?
That's being considered, but I'll tell you, Mike, that drawing that gas out would be probably several years before you could ever have an effect shallow. So to get the residents back in their home, to protect the residents, we've got to start shallow and work our way deep.
Okay, how about in the aquifer, the spots that are 12 and 15 foot deep right now? Would it be wise to get that out and quit feeding the shallow gas? And right now we're sucking the gas from that reservoir up to 30 feet.
That was the additional orange dots we showed on Sportsman's Drive. Would put additional vent wells in the aquifer to stop it down there too. But you got to understand, there's so much gas in this system right now that even if I work in the aquifer and I put in wells all over the place in everybody's backyard, you're probably still looking at months to a couple of years before you could really do something shallow. What we can do now on the shallow is get in and intercept it at this shallow sand and get that gas going to a flare instead of coming up in your yards and around your sidewalks and around the telephone poles.
And it would be safe to go home?
Pardon?
Then it would be safe to go home?
That's the intent? Yep.
You could have my house anytime you want, buddy.
What's your time frame for getting out the Sportsman's Drive and those other spots?
As we talked Thursday night, we can't put those wells in until the flare lines and everything are in place. That was a condition put on by Assumption Parish, which I agree with. We have to have the flare lines in, then the wells can go in. As soon as the wells are in, you can hook them up and they start flaring.